some of our members are being interviewed on NPR, on the radio station. We had a press conference last week. We're trying very hard to get to 7 council members to slow this thing down. But it seems like they want to take action on this before their precinct caucuses, which are on April 4th.
Is that only Minneapolis or also?
Just Minneapolis. But as you know, St. Paul will be just right on the train to take it on over there, and it's going to go all over the place. So there is some activity at the state capitol that would preempt cities from doing certain things. This was sparked out of a lawsuit that the Chamber of Commerce brought against the city of Minneapolis on their safe and sick time. And it also includes their $15 minimum wage. It would be just for people working in the city. That's gotten very complicated as you think about courier companies and how even myself, when I go up there to be at City Hall, my office is in Bloomington, so many people come in and out of the city and they want to monitor how many hours you're there and how much sick time you get. And it sounds like it's going to be sort of an administrative nightmare. It's a very simple thing to talk about if you were a political candidate saying, I'm going to get you all 2 weeks of vacation paid, and if you're sick, or your kid's sick, you get the day off. It's very simple until you get into the weeds. And they're in the weeds on this, but they're going to do it. So the state, of course, both houses of the legislature are run by Republicans, and they think cities are really overstepping their bounds here. So they're getting a bill that's going to end up with the governor, where it would preempt any workplace rules from municipalities that aren't consistent with state law. So that's a battle you can watch too, and that one will be interesting. Of course, the governor is on the city's side on this. The Senate is 34 Republicans and 33 Democrats, so they clearly would have to get some Democrats to vote with them if they needed to override a veto from Governor Dayton, which is very likely on this. But there's a whole series of showdowns coming up in the next couple of months. But we're working hard there. We're working hard in the cities, and it's just an environment that's so bizarre. It's the exact opposite of what's going on in Washington. President Trump has proposed $6 billion in cuts to the housing and urban development, which runs a lot of the local housing programs. And at least $300 million of that would be taken out of rent-based assistance. So it would probably be proportional, but for sure there will be less money going to housing choice vouchers in Minnesota next year if this budget passes. So it's kind of the city's way on one side of the spectrum, the federal government's way on the other, the state's a mix. It's just, you know, if anyone tells you they know what's going to happen, they're lying. But we're all along for the ride. So.
Do you have a charter for the referendum that we?
On the safe and sick time?
Well, really on any of the items that are.
Well, they tried to present enough signatures to get it in the charter, the $15 minimum wage, at least in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, they passed it though to allow it to go to reject it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they thought that they were organized enough where they could have passed it, and I always thought that, I was hoping it would go to a referendum because I don't think it would pass it. But apparently it didn't meet the parameters to get into the city charter. So they rejected it at that level, and then the city council passed it, and they're working on the implementation of those forms. But it's gonna take a long time to figure it out.
They got the Met Council in too.
Met council? Yeah, it's fun. Only 20 years old.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Just, do you have any other organizations that work with you on items like this where you've got the Minneapolis ordinance proposal?
Yeah.
That could be detrimental to all of us at some point.
Yeah.
Are there other organizations or associations that kind of work, you know, in lockstep with you to say we want to oppose this, or are you out there as a lone gunman on this, or?
We're kind of the lone gunman on this, although the Minneapolis Association of Realtors has been active. I think they're going to do a call to action for us.
Good.
The downtown council, we've met with them. They're doing some quiet lobbying behind the scenes for us. Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce as well held a big forum about this issue where we had some members explain it to business people. But it's been a tough year for business in Minneapolis, no matter what kind of business you're in. They're coming after you. So, any other questions? I will now introduce Jennifer Spadini, who is one of our members, and she is on our board of directors at MHA, currently the secretary. And she helps me with our municipal affairs committee, which if any of you are members, we'd love to have you join. We rely on our members around the state to tell us what's going on. It's really hard to keep up with 835 cities. So when our members know or hear something going on in the city, we get engaged and try to impact it for the betterment of the industry. Jennifer owns Guardian Property Management and Guardian Property Maintenance, based in New Brighton, but she does a lot of property management, and she's an expert on fair housing. Sure.
How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Good. So, I didn't hear what you said. So far, so good. Okay. So, fair housing, we're going to try to keep this as interesting as possible. So, we're going to do audience participation up front, okay? So, true or false? A person who is HIV positive is protected under federal fair housing law. True. Yep. In addition to your management company, you personally can be named in a fair housing violation complaint. True, yeah. If you have 2 pools, one can be designated as an adults-only pool. False. All right, guys, good job. Familial status refers to a household that includes children less than 18 years. It wasn't convincing. Which one? True, yes. Familial status also includes pregnant women. So that was true. It's okay to make exceptions to your standard policies in order to accommodate your good residents. True or false? True. It's true. I'll give you an example. If you have a resident, the rent's due on the 1st, late fees start on the 5th. Let's say you have a resident that can't pay until the 10th, and you decide that you want to make a reasonable accommodation so that person does not have a late charge start until the 11th. Maybe they've lived in your building for many years, they're an excellent resident. You can make that accommodation for them, but remember, once you make it for one person, you're stuck with that accommodation. You have to apply it fairly. So you could make an accommodation, but then you have that accommodation for everyone else, okay? You can be held liable for a discriminatory act performed by one of your vendors or contractors. True or false? True, yep. Official specific occupancy guidelines have been issued by HUD. False. Square footage is usually by the municipality, so most cities have ordinances that have occupancy guidelines. Some do square footage. As a rule of thumb though, most landlords do like 2 people per bedroom, and that usually accommodates every square footage municipality.
Columbia Heights, it's 2 per bedroom, we don't have square footage.
All right, good to know. You cannot charge damages against a handicapped resident whose service animal damaged their apartment. False, right. Gays and lesbians are protected under the Fair Housing Amendments Act. False, it's the state law. It was a trick question, right? It was. Linguistics profiling is a valid concern for property managers today. True or false? True. You want to be conscientious that you are not profiling based on language or how someone dresses. I want to be aware and train your staff not to profile either. You are allowed to require a written description of the nature of a resident's handicap before granting an accommodation or modification. No, you can get what they need for an accommodation, but you can't ask them why. So if they request an accommodation, like maybe they need a service animal or a ramp into their entry, you can request documentation that they need the accommodation, but you can't ask them why they need the accommodation. And that, see, this is a good example of accidentally stepping on fair housing laws. So this is why we're here.
Can you
you talk about, what if the person says that the dog that they have is a service animal, and you have suspicions that it's not?
Actually, we have a whole slide on that.
Oh.
We will cover it.
All right.
I'm sure, how many people have been asked for a service animal or an emotional support dog? All right, like I said, we have a whole slide. Let's see, where are we? Under the Fair Housing Amendments Act, it's okay to charge a pet deposit for 2 cats kept by a resident as companion animals. I think it's 50-50 here. True or false? False. So you cannot charge a pet deposit as companion animals. So if you cannot. No. So you can't charge a pet fee or a deposit.
What's the logic behind that?
No logic.
I mean, you're not supposed to.
There's no logic behind it.
Like a service animal. Okay, moving on. Non-disabled Caucasian men are protected under the Federal Fair Housing Act.
False.
True. True. Everybody's in a protected class. So, non-disabled Caucasian men, that would be their race. You'd be protected under race or color.
Question on the first bullet. So that's assuming that the resident is willing to pay for like a ramp or what have you. You don't have to pay for that, right?
Yes.
You just have to accommodate.
Correct. So you have to do a reasonable accommodation for them, and then you're determining what's reasonable. So, for example, if they ask for an elevator, that would definitely be unreasonable. But if they ask for a ramp, what the law is that you have to provide the ramp. When they move out, they have to pay to revert it back.
But they don't have to pay to make it.
No, they don't, not upfront.
So can you collect the money before you do it for them to put it back? Instead of assuming they're gonna pay when they move out?
That is a good question. I don't know. Maybe
Because
it's
many
a
people
deposit.
wanting this don't have money anyway.
Right.
So how, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip that's out of your house.
No, and yet you're putting all that money into change again.
We'll talk more. There is a slide on that too.
Alright.
It's okay to designate certain floors and or buildings as pet buildings and make people with pets live in those designated buildings. True. So here's the difference. Pets are not a protected class, just like smoking. Smoking's not a protected class. However, a companion animal, a service animal, an emotional support animal, those are protected. So you can have a pet building or a pet unit, and you can designate that you can or cannot have a pet in a unit. So does anyone here say no pets in their units? Yeah, that is completely legal. However, when it comes to, you have to put a totally different hat on when it comes to emotional support, companion animal, service animal, all right?
So.
A pregnant woman is protected under federal fair housing law. True, yep. If a handicapped resident wants to modify their apartment to accommodate their disability, the property must pay for the accommodation. False. I misunderstood what you said, I apologize.
Oh.
Okay.
My apologies. It is false. So they do have to pay for the accommodation and put it back.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, well, that makes more sense.
I have that backwards. Go ahead.
About the pet, the companion or whatever.
Yes.
If they're trying to apply for application to move in and your policy is no pets, that you don't have to take them, right?
So if you have a policy for no pets, and they tell you that they have a companion or a service animal or an emotional support animal, then they need to provide, they're asking you for a reasonable accommodation due to a disability. And then they have to provide proof that they need that accommodation. Typically what you'll see is you'll see a doctor's note that says they need a cat, or we've seen bunnies. We just got asked to have a And I never had that one before, although I've heard other people talk about it. So we have a form that we have their doctor fill out. So even if our resident comes to us and has a doctor's note, we have a form that we require their doctor to fill out, and the form is, it talks about like, is there another accommodation the resident could have? Because maybe there is, maybe it could be medication or, and then it also ends with, would you be willing to testify in court that this resident needs the accommodation? Now that doesn't mean we're taking the resident to court to say, hey, you don't need the accommodation, but we want the doctor to say yes or no if they're willing to go, because they're signing that paper. And that might change the situation a little bit for the doctor. It's easy to write a prescription on a pad that says they need a dog or a cat or a bunny, right? But when we tell them, you have to fill out our form and give it back to us, and then we look at that form and determine. Now with the pig, what happened actually was we had them fill out their form, and the doctor did fill it out and said that that was the accommodation needed. And this was in the city of Blaine, and Blaine city ordinance does not allow pigs. So, which was very interesting, and I was glad I checked actually, because I just told the staff, call the city, double check. And they do not allow pigs in the city limits. So we went back to the resident and told the resident that they would need a written accommodation from the city of Blaine. And at this point, the resident has dropped the request. They did not, it may pop up again if they work with the city, but the request on our end has gone away, all right? And I don't know why we didn't follow up. We just, she said not at this time. So we don't know if something else will come. We do check the unit quarterly so that we'll know if there's a pig there or not. And then the other thing is we do fee management, so we have an owner there. The owner asked that we give the tenant notice to vacate to move out, and we didn't do that. We told the owner that we felt that might be a liability, and the resident pays on time. She's a great resident, by the way. Pays rent on time, the unit looks great, but we just felt when we're